Hello, everyone, and welcome to podcast number 4. This actually is podcast number 4. I know last week I said it was 4 when it was 3, but we are here today for Let's Be Honest, Acceptance Part 2, which is accepting people for who and what and who and where they are, which actually also means accepting ourselves for who and where we are. And we are here today with my fantastic co-host and prior Let's Be Honest group member, Lana Simmons.
Hello.
Hi, Lana.
Hey.
Welcome. I just want to start off this podcast by sharing that I was so happy to begin my first Let's Be Honest group offered in Virginia Beach. I have some wonderful group of ladies from all ages and backgrounds together. They each bring so much to the table already. I cannot wait to see where it goes. Registration will be open for one more week, so you can call the JCC directly at 321-2338. And registration is still open for the groups at the Muse Writer Centers, morning and evening options available. And let's get started. So I wanted to pick up from last week and talk about acceptance with the idea of needs versus wants. Every time we begin a sentence with, I need to exercise, I need to call her, I need to post this, that's coming from obligation. Mm-hmm. And for me, what I've done this week is every time I'm about to do something, I quickly do a check. Do I need to do this or do I want to do this? And let's say it's something you have to do, right? But if you come with the energy of, you know what, I want to post this or I want to call her back, it changes things up, and it takes the obligation out of it, and we accept exactly what just happened. We accept that our first energy, the needing, was coming from some fear-based source versus changing it to a wanting of openness. And that's really helped me this week, and I wanted to know, Lana, if anything came up for you in regards to that last session.
Well, that's very interesting. I didn't even look at the needs and wants in that light. You know, when you think of need, well, I need to get this done. I need to, make my house look fantastical. Instead of I want to, that changes the whole energy of the phrasing. And I guess I didn't realize that need would be fear-based, but you're right. Because why else would I need to clean my house?
Right.
Clean it, but people are coming over, I need to clean my house, and I just get all angry.
Yes.
But it's that fear of somebody not accepting me.
Yes. Exactly.
That's very
So you put just by saying the word I need, you already are putting pressure on yourself.
Yeah.
As opposed to, I have a beautiful house. I want it to look as beautiful as it is.
Yeah, that's a very different way of looking at that. That's interesting. Need is fear-based. Huh.
Yeah.
I would have never thought of that.
I know, it's so simple. Even I had my son's birthday, and I'm like, oh, I need to post this on Facebook. And it was like another obligation on my list. And I had to make sure I needed to put the right pictures. I needed to say, and I'm like, why do I need to do this? This is my son. Why am I making this stressful? I want to share this, and I don't care if the post isn't perfect, and I don't care if I have the perfect pictures. I'm going to share what I want to share, and I'm going to move on with my life. Mm-hmm. Just little things like that.
Yeah.
Needing versus wanting.
Well,
even writing thank you cards,
Yeah.
Right? Oh, I know. First of all, thank you cards. We can have a whole podcast on thank you cards.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh, with the kids' birthday parties and the gifts and I'm going to write down, I'm good at that, writing down what everybody bought.
Yep.
But following through with an actual thank you is like a whole other thing.
Oh, yeah.
Personalized and time consuming, and then you don't get to it and you feel so guilty.
Yes.
But changing the energy of, I want to say thank you, and if the easiest way for me to say thank you is to send a group email, then so be it, because it's coming from an open-hearted place as opposed to something else. So anyway, I don't want to digress too much because we have a great topic today, but just think about that this week. When you catch yourself saying, I need, try to change the energy and make it I want. And what do I want to do?
I like
that. Does that make sense?
I love that.
Good. Okay, so the reason why we're doing a part 2 on acceptance, I got some feedback from a number of different awesome listeners that to go a little bit deeper in terms of accepting people around us who it's so easy for us to see why are they doing what they're doing? Why are they saying what they're saying?
Mm-hmm.
Don't they see how it's affecting me? Why don't they see what I see?
Mm-hmm.
You know? Yes. Why is it so easy for me to see what I'm seeing? Why don't they see it? Yep. I mean, right?
I know.
Life would be so much easier if they just saw what I saw in them. And did something about it.
Like to stop being an asshole.
Yeah. Why is it so hard for you to see that you're being an asshole right now? Just not be an asshole.
Yeah, can you just stop
that?
Like, easy life goals. Yeah, easy life goals. Just don't be an asshole. The end.
Yeah. It's simple enough.
Yeah. You think it is. You as the person experiencing it, but for them, it may not be so easy, I guess.
And literally, it upsets you so much. It could upset you for hours, if not days or weeks, as to why this person cannot change.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been there. And I'm sure most of the human race has been there as well. Now, the truth is, so I'm going to put back my therapy hat and say, when we have a reaction to someone, when it's good or bad, there's a reason. Because if we didn't have a reaction, we would be indifferent. So if we have a reaction to someone, there's something there. So if we have a reaction to someone and it's positive, usually that means they have characteristics within them that we like already in ourselves or that we want more of. The flip side to that is if there is a person that's rubbing us the wrong way, we're having an adverse reaction to them, it means we either have qualities in ourselves that we don't like or that this person is doing something that we actually need more of. For example, let's say there's someone in your life and you keep calling them selfish. Why are they so selfish? They are so selfish. Why don't they see that they're selfish? If you're not having your buttons pushed, as we talked about on the podcast previously about being heard, and you have that moment of clarity and you really examine the situation, the truth is what they might be doing very easily is you might resent the fact that they can very easily put a boundary down. They can very easily put themselves first. They can very easily go and get their needs met and be unapologetic for it. And with someone like, for example, myself, who maybe I don't speak up as often as I can about getting my needs met or putting my boundary down or saying I can't, they are giving me a mirror of that, you know?
Wow.
Does that make sense?
No, it does, because as you're saying this, at first when you said it, I was like, oh, ouch. Because I think about some of the people who have seriously either hurt my feelings badly or I just get this really bad reaction to, and I'm thinking, God, I hope I'm not, like... So here, let me give you an example, and then you fill me in on... Because you have a good way of switching it around, because when you said the selfish part, I'm like, how are you going to flip this around to be positive? But I knew, fortunately, with my husband being retired military, our family was able to travel a lot. We met a lot of different people. At one of our duty stations, or at one of his duty stations, there was this woman who I initially really liked. I really liked her. But the more that I got to know her, she always seemed to... She would say something very negative about a group of people. And we would have to hash it out, and she would want to talk about it. But then as time went on, she ended up becoming friends with them. And this bothered me a lot because my thing was, well, how can you talk this way about people? And then all of a sudden you're friends with them? Do they realize, you know... So that was, so in that sense, is that kind of picking up on something that's...
Yeah, listen, I think, you know, it's very easy to talk negatively about people because it kind of gives you a facade of lifting yourself up. That is why we're in a culture of we're obsessed with celebrities. You know, we're obsessed with their successes, but we're more obsessed with their failures because they're already placed on a pedestal. And so it kind of makes us feel better about ourselves when they're back on the ground. But it's not fair to them. They're regular people too. They didn't ask to be in such a limelight, but it's all projection. So I think with your friend, she was probably saying a lot of negative things because, you know, maybe there's a part of her that was, you know, maybe envious of some of the traits they exude.
Yeah, I would say envious. Now looking back on it, yeah.
Yeah, and it's easier to put them down than to say, hey, I wish I was more like them.
Yes.
You know, but I think for you, Lana, you are definitely someone who very much believes in the value of integrity, and I think it rubbed you the wrong way as to how easy she could flip to the other side.
Yeah.
And not own that, and not own where she was and where she is. So I think that's probably what triggered you.
Yeah. And then again, it brings it back to accepting. So instead of me getting so worked up that the whole world didn't realize what she was doing, like, did these people, like, I became so upset. Like, I wanted to contact these people and be like, do you realize what she was saying about you? This is not a honorable. And so I'm making the judgment, right? Like, I get to decide who's honorable. I mean, seriously. But at that moment, I thought, you know, I had that whatever. And, you know, so I let my thoughts and feelings about her, I totally didn't accept the situation.
Yeah.
Or her.
Yeah. Well, I think, first of all, you know, these friends have their own ways to assert the situation. You know, they might have a radar that's already up that you don't even have to say. But I think your trigger in listening to you, when you said the word honorable, I think you value, like I said, integrity and honor. And she was just not acting like that. So that became personal to you because you could never see yourself doing that.
It did.
You know, rather than, you know what, hopefully they'll see her true colors, and if not, you know, that's their business.
Oh man, yeah. It was like, it really grinded my gears. It did, and like I wasted so much energy and having that reaction that you just said. Well, maybe they'll eventually find out. You know, it's not my problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just having to, you know, and accepting others where they are. I mean, what is that really, Danielle? Is that no? I mean, like, seriously, like, is it really about you? Is it more about you accepting yourself in order to accept other people?
Listen, it's very easy for us to see the unfavorable parts of the people we love, possibly, and it might not be as easy for us to see the unfavorable parts of ourselves, right?
Yes.
So, you know, at the end of the day, you know, you've heard this before, we really can only change what we can change. We cannot get into other people's head and drive their decisions in their lives. You know, I say a lot in therapy that we always, you know, we may not have control over who comes into our life and what happens to our life. Although, I mean, ultimately we do, right? But I'm just saying, on a concrete level, we may not always have control over the people and events that happen, but we always have control over how we respond to these people and events. And, you know, the old adage of everything in